Good morning. This is Sarah with the Department of Medicaid. It's not quite 8:30 and we're still clearing out the waiting room, so we'll give it just a moment before we get started. Good morning. It's 8:30 and the waiting room is cleared. Renee, I believe you are steering this bus this morning.
Yes, I am. We're going to do our best here.
All right. I will hand it over to you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. We're going to start by, was everybody able to look at the minutes from July 9th? And did you have any concerns, or do I have anybody that would make a motion to approve?
Renee, I'll make a motion to approve.
All right. Thank you, Emily. Do you have a second? Okay. Did I have a second? Sorry, I don't know if that was you, Krista.
I think Krista waved her hand.
Yes. Okay.
Second.
All right, so we will say motion, the minutes are approved then. All right, thank you. Let's go into some old business and see if we have any follow-up from the state. I think Dale had asked this question the last time we were on. Just do we have any findings about the increasing of the PT/OT speech schedule? I know that was something that we're all anxiously waiting to hear from. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning. How are you all?
We are great. Beautiful weather.
Yes, it is. So currently that's still ongoing. No news for the findings for the increase on the fee schedule.
Are you waiting for Christmas? Are we gonna get this at Christmas? All right, I'll keep talking to Santa Claus. All right, the next thing is the therapy diagnosis codes that we were talking about potentially bypassing after the 20 visit limit due to just medical diagnosis. Those are listed here. Justin, is there anything else? Like, is this something that we think is going to move forward? Anything else on our end?
No, so we had asked your all's assistance, and so I think we just wanted to give you all time to look at this, if you wanted to, if there's anything you wanted to add or discuss, and then we have a kind of our own listing that we're finalizing right now before we send that proposal forward. So this is just wanted to kind of make sure that you all were good with this list as a final list from your all's perspective, and get your all's feedback before we move forward in the process.
Was Down syndrome going to be on here as well? I'm not seeing that on this particular list, but I thought we did talk about that. Maybe I'm missing it. I'm not seeing it, I don't think.
I didn't have that on this list, but we can look at that one.
Okay. Does anyone else see anything else that might potentially need to be looked at?
Justin, I don't know if I sent that to you or not now that I'm looking at the list, but was there any consideration in relation to lymphedema for those, that diagnosis, especially acute flare-up?
I don't remember that, but we can look at that. And if
Okay.
you'll think of anything else, as this is going through the process, just shoot me an email. Uh,
What is the time frame on this process, Justin?
Well, all processes are different. So anytime we do a policy change like this, it goes through a review process. And most of the time, since it's a fairly significant policy decision, we'll send this through the commissioner's office, and then they'll decide whether to send that to the secretary's office or not. So it just kind of depends on those two things. I would think we'll have a decision at some point within the next 30 days or so.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I don't think we had any other old business at this time based on the agenda, so we're gonna move on to some new business. We actually have quite a bit of new business this month. The first one, I'll just jump into that. So Passport, following the initial 20 visits, really started in August. We started noticing this. I think several actual other companies reached out to me also noticing it, the authorizations versus just getting another, 20 visits, or they were really denying a lot of those and referencing more rehabilitation guidelines and not habilitation. So I know I did personally get to talk to Passport, and they had offered up a meeting to discuss this with any company that, or agency or provider who wanted to be a part of that meeting. So if someone would like to, I don't know if there's anybody from Passport on. I see Crystal's on this morning. What would be the best thing, Crystal? Would it be for us to put our name in our email in the chat if we would like to set up that meeting with everyone together? Like we'll have a provider meeting.
Good morning. Yeah, sorry, I was trying to get off of mute there. Yes, please. You can put your names in the chat, or I can also put my email address in the chat as well. And you can shoot me an email either way, and we can coordinate for you guys if needed.
Yeah, I think there was several that were wanting to just be a part of that meeting. And again, at this time, if anybody wants to put their email in the chat, then we'll make sure Crystal has that so that we can all jump on that meeting. I'll go ahead and put mine in there too, just to be a part of that, Crystal.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Right. All right. So for that specifically, I think we were just trying to, again, Crystal, get some guidance on what they were referring to more so in the guidelines, making sure that it was habilitation, not just rehabilitation. So I think there has been some movement there. It seems like it's maybe had some progress. So it might not be as big of an issue, but I think there are some still concerns. So, all right. Anybody want to say anything else about that? There's some, okay. Yeah.
I'll chime in. It's Pam Marshall. What I would be interested in hearing in that meeting is, we understand that it's a table that the physicians are using. And, we have as providers, we don't understand, what that table, I'm assuming data is being entered and then it's spitting out the number of visits. However, we don't understand how habilitation is measured within that table and believe it's not being measured, but what can Passport provide that shows us that it's not a strictly rehabilitative table versus an habilitative table?
Yeah. And Nicole just said she's having some difficulty with the mute button. So if you have topics for that, we can get it there. So I think, again, just the ones who are interested in being a part of that, let's do that. Nicole, I didn't see that you were on, Nicole, so thank you for jumping on too. She has been very helpful in trying to make sure, we're figuring this out. So I appreciate that. I think we all appreciate that. So we will get over in the next week to 2 weeks, set up a meeting time if that works for everybody. And I know Dell was wanting to be a part of that too. Dell is out of the country right now, so I know he will want to also be a part of that meeting. The next thing in new business was translation services no longer being provided by MCOs. We're just starting to see, again, in the past, there was the information that, MCOs were to provide translation services for members that needed that. And, if you, being a business owner, just to give this example, we are seeing in our Bowling Green area, I'll use this as an example, a lot of patients that are refugees that are coming in and they have just a variety of different languages that are not your typical language, maybe, and that we would have a translation provider easily accessed. So, you're having to call an interpreter line just to go through that if you need to get medical background, really find out about what's going on and talk to that mom. You could talk to that mom for 20, 30 minutes. Most of the translation service phone lines are like $1.20 to $1.60 a minute for these services. And if you take in on top of that what you're getting for an evaluation, you might be losing money by taking a child that has these significant language barriers that desperately need our services. And so we added this on here because we do feel like this is an issue that, again, not having an increase in since we've been in business with Medicaid, not having some of these things, it's really affecting the way we're providing services. And so we wanted to add this to new business to see if there's anything the state could do, if there's anything that we could get creative with, if any of the MCOs want to chime in here on the things that could be, that could help us. But at the end of the day, it's hard for us to, be able to service these individuals and then be able to still pay our employees and pay for our rent and all of these things. So that is why this is added at this point, bringing it to the state to see what we can do to help the situation.
Renee, this is Stuart Owen with WellCare. I'm not aware of any MCOs doing away with translation services. I know we haven't. I have heard the Commissioner Lee talk about that DMS is contemplating a single number for interpreter service translation that would be used for the entire Medicaid program. That's just something that they're, thinking about. I've heard that, but we still have, interpreter services. I'm not aware of any other MCO that stopped having that. Are you actually seeing that or experiencing that?
Well, in the past, for example, yes, we are seeing it and experiencing it. So in the past, say they have WellCare, we call WellCare to get a translator. WellCare says they only provide it to tell the patient where services, like they help, but they're not helping us during our therapy session. It's on us as providers to provide that. Where in the past, I know, for example, we used to, with Passport, be able to call and a translator would help us during that session. They're no longer providing that service. So we have to then provide it on top of that for that patient. Does that make sense?
So during the actual, clinical, okay, I'm totally not aware of that at all. That's news to me. I'll definitely investigate it WellCare and see if that's the case.
Okay.
I'm not at all aware of that.
Yes.
Hey, it's Nicole, and I finally got my mute resolved. Are you experiencing that with Passport as well?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I'll take that one back for you.
And also, just to add to, this is Crystal with Passport. I actually have a flyer that provides the phone numbers that you can call with the company that we use, Lobo, that you call to set up that translation service to actually provide it during the session as well. So Renee, can I send that to you, and would you be able to share that with the group?
Yes, and I will get that to the group, but Crystal, I will email you and Nicole specifically because I know that has actually been one of our bigger ones. So I'll email you specifically what we've been told so that you have that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get that addressed, Renee. So
Okay.
Absolutely.
So just to clarify, and this was something I wanted from the state. So Justin, or I see Jennifer's on here, is the MCO. So just to clarify for us, are the MCOs supposed to provide translation services during the therapy session for part of it if the parent needs if they have communication barriers. Now, we don't typically have them in the whole session, but if there is needed for an evaluation or following up after the session to talk about home exercise programs and carryover, is that something, who is responsible for providing that service?
Is there anybody from the MCO branch on?
I was looking, I can try to ping somebody and see if they can hop on really quick, but I do have it on our take back email if I can't get somebody on quickly.
I don't really want to answer that. Is that their MCO contracts aren't my specialty? I don't want to misspeak. I will say that we have fee for service translation services, in 2 different areas. One's mainly for members and enrollment and eligibility. Another one is for members to assist with other type of services and care. So I think Mr. Owen is correct. We're trying to look into maybe one specific provider for all, but right now it's a little fragmented. So we do have that for a fee for service population as well.
Okay, and I did just put in there in the contract between DMS and MCOs, there is a requirement, see 20.0 enrollee service provisions 20.1, which states the appropriate language. That was sent to me from the state. So we can put that in there for everybody to have that as well.
Hey,
So it
Renee,
says-
this is Holly with and I'm sorry, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
No, you're good. I was just saying it's put in there for you guys to have that.
Okay. Thank you. And Anthem, we do provide interpreter services on a daily basis. We get those requests pretty often. Are you experiencing that with Anthem as well?
I will verify my list here, but as the email I did receive said that it was the majority of the MCOs were pushing back on providing that service. So I will send that. I can get that to Erin so that she can get that out to everybody.
Okay. And we also have a flyer too that we can email you as well with all of the information and the phone numbers. But it's really simple for Anthem. The provider can fill out the form, fax it to us, and we set that all up for you.
Okay.
If any of the other MCOs have flyers they can share, everybody can send that to me and I can send that out to the TAC as a whole.
That would be great.
And where were you posting that language, the contractual language? I don't see it in the chat.
Oh, sorry. I thought I put it in the chat. So let me make sure it. Oh, it says it's too long. My message was too long. I couldn't send it. Sorry.
Gotcha.
Let me put that right here. Let me just see if I can copy part of it.
Hey there, Renee, it's Jill. I just wanted to offer, I'm seeing in the chat a lot here that the MCOs are offering interpreter services. And just to be clear, what we're seeing is there are interpreter services being offered to assist with signing up for a plan, enrolling in a plan, or if they have questions about their plan, but we are not, we are getting pushback for any assistance like with treatment sessions and whatnot.
Right. So this is Greg at UHC. I'll make sure that I look into this further. To Suzanne's point, Suzanne posted, we try to step in to offer translation services as often as we can. So I believe that the specific language that is pasted here, I believe that's about our internal operations. So when a member calls and needs to speak to somebody about their insurance, then we will absolutely offer translation services. Also, if they need written materials translated, we would do that. So when it comes to the provider's office, I know that there's provider responsibility in that as well as part of the participation with Medicaid regulations, but I would need somebody like Justin or the department to speak to more of that.
Yeah, and I think that is what we're saying right here. Do you go by Greg or Gregory? One of the things that we're saying is when you provide that service on top of what we're contracted with our MCOs, we're not even able to pay our therapist. We're losing money. It's costing us money to see that child. And we, again, cannot afford to be in this situation. And so if that is what is, because we've been told, again, like UHC says this, that they'll provide, helping them set up for a plan or transportation or things like that. But as far as the therapy, they do not provide that. We need to work with the state, and that's where I'm trying to figure out if this is an MCO issue, a state issue. We have to figure this out to come up with a plan for our providers, because the providers we can't afford to continue to do this. We can't. And again, without the increases where, with inflation, I mean, we're losing providers left and right. We're losing, so we have to come up with a solution here with that. And so that's where I was trying to figure out what the state is requiring what the state is requiring for the providers. And then from there, if it's not required, how can we come up with a solution so that we can all get the service for our kids? So that's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
Yeah, so Renee, I think you have a two-part question, and so we'll work with our MCO branch and look at the specifics of those contracts, and then we'll also look at look at some other ways that we may be able to solve that issue too. So we'll definitely take that back and do some research on that and keep this in the topic agenda for next meeting, and we'll discuss it. Have some solution by then.
Okay, and maybe it's a modifier we put on if that's needed, and the state's able to give a supplement for that specific service. I'm not sure like what the solution could be, but I'm just trying to think outside the box here to help all the providers, because that is a burden. So thank you. Okay, the next thing is CPT 92551, hearing screens not covered by Medicaid and MCOs. I am not, if anybody, I'm not sure who posted this one. So if you're on and this was a concern, do you want to chime in here?
I think it was me, Renee, but it's been a while back that we were having, and I don't have specific issues. I can get those like where it's happening, but I just know that in general, that was something that wasn't being covered. It's not like it's a high paying code, but if we're paying to have audiometers calibrated every year and we're using them and we're doing the screenings as part of our evaluations, that is something that we want to be reimbursed for. So yeah, I can, if somebody needs specific examples, I'll have to dig those out, but. Yeah.
Krista, do you know if one thing we probably need to look at is does Medicare reimburse, the CMS reimburse for that code as well? We could do a little research and then get Justin, do you know?
They do. So we did some research. We reviewed this code. We've never covered it before through speech therapy. We cover it through our audiology fee schedule, but it wasn't covered through that. So what we've looked at, we've made a decision to add that to the 2025 fee schedule. So it will be there January 1st, 2025. As you all know, it's cost prohibitive to add codes outside of those few times when we change those throughout the year. Specifically, the main time we change those in January, and then we try to do another look and change sometime in April to May for mistakes or issues, and then that's usually it, as it costs us quite a bit of money to make those changes in the system outside of those two major changes. So we've researched that code and decided to add that for you all for the 2025 fee schedule. It'll be on there January 1st.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
See, that was like a stocking stuffer, Justin. I like it. Okay, next one is Evacor is not loading WellCare patients in the system correctly, making them ineligible for services, therefore no PA is obtained. And so I'm gonna let Pam talk about this one. I think you're on mute. Yep.
Matt, this
right,
is
there, I'm
Stuart
off.
with WellCare.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah.
we investigate, just thought maybe I'd say this on the front end. We discovered we did have a problem back in August, and it has been remedied and fixed, so it should not continue to happen.
Great.
So I'll just say that on the front end, that yes, that was a problem.
And so, Stuart, what's the process to get the back issues resolved for providers? Who should they contact?
I would start with your provider relations rep.
Yeah, we've done that.
Okay, on this particular issue?
Yeah, yeah. And children have actually lost therapy, had to stop therapy because there's no way to obtain a PA, and the provider rep is not successful in that process in a timely manner.
So Pam, do you care to explain, just again, making sure, because I think this happened at other agencies too, do you care to explain what the
Sure.
issue was, just to make sure that we can go back and
So
review?
I believe, Stuart, and you may correct me if I'm wrong, that it's a communication issue between WellCare and Evacor. And Evacor, when a patient has had WellCare, it's been no problem obtaining a PA, but it's when the patient has switched or been a new WellCare member, that they are not loading the member correctly. So there is no way on Evacor's website to obtain a PA, because it'll say the member, we recognize the member, and then you go to obtain the PA, and it's like you're not allowed to get a PA for that service. And so there's been no way to get a prior auth and no resolution to getting that prior auth.
Yeah, I mean, it was about a week and a half ago, I was told that it was resolved, I think late August.
It went on for a couple months.
Yeah.
So those patients who are sort of in limbo right now, what do they need to do, Stuart, to be able to access services?
Well, I mean, I was told that it was fixed, that everything should be okay now. That was about a week and a half ago. So it should not continue to be a problem. If it is, then obviously it's not fixed.
Okay. Well, how about this? I'll double check with my team and see if all of those issues have been resolved as of today. If not, I'll just reach out to you directly and get
Okay, yeah.
direct.
Do you have my email?
I do.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that sounds
thanks.
good.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay, are there any other issues from the TAC members or anyone that's on this phone call from the public that would like to come forward? All right. So TAC members, do we have any recommendations that we would like to take to the MAC? Don't think we have any at this time. I do think once we get back from some of that new business, we might have some recommendations to take, but I don't think we have any at this time. I do personally want to say, I know that sometimes we have hard conversations on here, and I just really appreciate everybody being a part of this from all the different MCOs in the state. And I work in several different states, and not every state has this TAC. And so having this ability today, I wanted to say thank you. And I'm very grateful that this is something that Kentucky provides. So thank you guys for jumping on. Erin, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, well, oh, sorry, excuse me. If nobody has anything, well, I guess I'll see you guys in November. I was able to grab some of the information out of the chat for the TAC, and I also try to grab all of the email addresses for Crystal and Nicole. So I'll get all that information out to everybody after the meeting.
All right. Thank you, Erin. All right.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
guys. Y'all have a great week.
Thank you too.